Hello Facebook, hello YouTube, what is up everybody? This is Ruben and I'm back again with another Ruben Report. And today we're going to be doing a little bit of TLC maintenance on the bike, as we usually do every 2 weeks or every week or so. We have concluded our WRE weight reduction experiment this past week, and we're going to go over the results of that experiment. We're going to take a look at the valves. We're going to do some other maintenance as well. So today is going to be a very jam-packed day and a very jam-packed video. But before we get into all those results, I'm going to go ahead and clean the chain, and then we can talk about all those different things later. All right, so now we have the chain cleaned. I'm just going to let that sit, and we're going to wipe it off once it's soaked in a bit. And then we've gotten the bike all washed down, so all the bug splatters are off. Things are looking nice and spick and span once again. Okay, so before we get into some of the results, I'm going to go ahead for reference show you guys the mileage that we are at. So the bike currently has 5,413.2 miles. All right, so with the bike being at 5,413.2 miles, that means we have in total just about 3,140 miles on the new engine in total, and 302 miles on the current valve adjustment. Alright, sorry guys, I brought the bike back into the garage where it's a bit cooler. Once again, don't want my phone to be overheating and cutting the video off. I went ahead and cleaned the chain as well. Took a little break, but now I'm back. So let's get to the results. Okay, so if you guys have been following along, at the end of this video there's going to be a little template that's going to take you to the actual playlist of all 5 videos that were recorded for the WRE experiment. But if you've been following along already, you know that for the past 5 days this bike was ridden on my typical commute route. That commute route, as you guys have probably seen in multiple different videos, dozens of videos at this point now, 60 miles a day, riding at 7,000 RPMs, 55 miles an hour GPS on back roads. Okay, and riding these back roads, it's a bit of mixed riding. Most of it is done at 7,000 RPMs, but there's some stop and go there. There's some stoplights. There's some residential areas where speed limits are a little bit slower. But all in all, the riding that was conducted for the past 5 days has been very consistent and pretty much the same across the board. Okay, we started the week out strong with averaging about 58.6 mpg, starting at 58.6 mpg at the very beginning, and by the end of the week our mpg dropped to 53.8. We also started at the week at 1,500 RPMs, and then by the end of the week our idle, well, the idle RPMs, that is 1,500 idle RPMs, and at the end of the week we had an idle of 1,800 RPMs. So about a 300 RPM difference within the span of just 5 days. So over the past 300 miles, this bike has seen a steady increase in RPM, idle RPMs. It's seen a steady decrease in MPG performance. And on the last day, Friday, was the day where we finally had the opportunity to show some of the top end performance of the bike, which we passed not one, but two really long semi-trucks, big box semi-trucks, and we got up to a maximum speed of 70 miles an hour. That is, especially with the bike in its stripped down form, I would honestly would have liked to have seen the actual top speed, which we've gotten before, which was about 80 miles an hour, but we only got up to 70 miles an hour, so that's a deduction in about 10 miles an hour in top end performance. So all these three metrics show and are telltale signs that the valves are out of adjustment. So our previous valve adjustment, or the last valve adjustment before this one, lasted about 691 miles before needing to be adjusted again. And that's when the bike was fully dressed. So had all the fairings, the boxes, crash guards, you name it. So now with the bike having lost over 70 pounds, well, this answers the question. Was the weight the main factor, or a big factor in the valve clearance durability lasting longer? Or was the weight the main factor in why the valve clearance tightened up so prematurely? And this test so far has proven that that is not the case. Even with the bike losing over 70 pounds, and with me as a rider being well within the GVWR of the bike, riding it every single day for the past week has still continued the same signs as prior, and in fact it's accelerated even faster than before. But we're still going to go ahead and strip the bike down, or really not strip it down, but move the radiators out the way, open up the crankcase, and we're going to all see together how far the valves have moved in the past 300 miles in the past five days. And we can compare that to the last video I made when I adjusted the valves, which was, I believe, in my weight reduction experiment video when I wanted to start this whole thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these things out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and take a look on the inside to see what's going on. All right, the bike is fully undressed now. We have access to the valves, intake and exhaust, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look on the intake valves. So yeah, before I get started here, let me make sure I turn on the camera light. Okay, so now with the light on, thus far the intake valves have not been the culprit on this new engine every time that we've opened these up. So I don't expect for these to be tight at all, but we'll see. Oh, before we get started, I don't know if you guys can see that. Hold on. Okay, there we go. This is the same feeler gauge shim that I've been using to measure all the valves prior for every valve adjustment on this engine so far. Okay, and it slides in and out easily, but it does snag just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, but it's still, oh, whoops, it's still pretty much a slip and slide, okay, as it was prior. And with this one as well, okay, a slip and slide. So intake valves haven't moved much. Again, they haven't been the culprit so far to begin with. And now we're going to look at the exhaust valves. I'll give you a moment here. I always have to situate myself. So let's open this up. Okay, let's get this in here. And let's zoom in. Okay, so now here we go to the exhaust. And all right, as you guys can see, it is no longer a slip and slide as it was prior. Okay, this one I'm in a little bit, but it's no longer a slip and slide like it used to be. All right. All right, so now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go down one size. So this is 0.063 millimeters. Hope you guys can see that. We're going to go down one size and see if this fits a lot better than this previous one, which was 0.076. Okay, and so let's again get situated here. Sorry about the camera movement. Okay. All right, sorry about that. All right, once again, 0.063. Okay, I'm gonna see if this fits. Hold on. Okay, again, 0.063. Okay, let's get in here. Let's see if this one fits. Okay, this one fits. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it snagged just a tiny bit. And the back one, same. Okay, so what we're going to do is just like before, we're going to adjust these again, and we're going to see what the idle speed is going to be at and whatnot. Okay, but it's validated that yes, the valves have tightened up once again, but this time after 300 miles and not after 691. The valves, I would actually have to argue they've tightened up even more than previously. And you can go back to the old video from I think it was last week. Again, I think it was my actual weight reduction experiment announcement video, pretty much, where I adjusted the valves. And you can see within that video I actually was able to use a shim, that was one size bigger than this. I mean, the one that I was always using, I was able to fit it, and it went in and out, but it didn't go out easily. But now we have this guy here that's not going in and out easily. So we're seeing even more wear on the valve clearance than prior when the bike was fully dressed. So again, does rider weight or the bike load have an effect on valve clearance durability? I'm gonna have to go ahead and say absolutely not. We see it with the valve clearance in real time. Although I will have to say, in the manual, 0.04 millimeters till 0.08 millimeters is the tolerable clearance. Okay, anywhere between there is tolerable clearance. Although I am getting much poorer performance with it being tighter than what I set it to, it's still within, I guess, relatively acceptable ranges. Obviously the bike is running. It's not running to top performance, but it's running. We are still able to get, even to my own personal standards of reaching 70 miles an hour at least, where we're able to do that. 54 mpg, we got slightly, just a little bit under tiny bit under. We got 53.8. But the idle RPMs is definitely concerning. Had I run the bike for another week, who knows how much tighter it would have gotten. Maybe it would have gotten all the way to 0.04. Don't know. But generally speaking, you don't want to allow the bike to run that far to where it gets so tight, because then you run into the danger of having your valves be completely closed when ignition goes off, and you don't want to do that, because then it's going to cause a lot of damage in the engine. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and adjust these again, and we're going to see if I'm going to continue this test. What I would like to do, I would definitely like to put some of my accessories back on, because like I was saying before, maybe I can continue on with this test just to confirm again, to make sure that weight doesn't play a factor. Maybe if I put all my, not all, but some of my accessories back on, I don't really want to put the fairings and stuff back on again, because I like having easy access to these things, because I know I'm going to have to adjust the valves again. But putting the seat, putting the pillion seat, putting my top box, putting my side cases back on, things of that nature, the windscreen, because I miss my accessories. And then we can continue on with this experiment to see, well, whether the bike really cares if it's fully loaded or overloaded, for that matter, and see how it affects the valve clearance durability. Alright, we'll go ahead and adjust these, and I'll see you guys in a couple moments. Okay guys, I think I fine-tuned everything down to the way that I want it. Here's again 0.076 millimeters. Okay, that's what I'm adjusting it to. And here we go. We're going to be going in there, and all right, just like I had it before. Now it is a slip and slide along with the back one as well, being a slip and slide. Okay. Zoom out. And with the intake valves, I went ahead and adjusted them just a little bit. I know they weren't really out of spec much. It was just snagging a tiny bit. So I went ahead and adjusted these as well. So now, slip and slide, you don't hear that snag anymore. Okay, slip and slide. All right. So everything's adjusted to proper specs. We're gonna go ahead and button her up. We're going to fire her up, and we're going to see how she runs, how she idles, how she sounds, all of it all together. Alright, I went ahead and got everything put back together, fired her up. She's been warming up just for a little bit. Okay. Idles right back where we need it to be, 1500. Yep. Sounds pretty good. Okay. All right. I got some of my accessories back. Just some. I got my windshield back. I got my top box back. I got my pillion seat back. And we're going to continue to ride the bike. I kept the side fairings off just because, again, I know I'm gonna have to do a valve adjustment, you know, relatively shortly after this, so no point in putting the fairings back on. I like the easy access, and because weight doesn't play a role in the whole valves getting tighter, there's no point in having all this stuff off. You know, I'd rather go ahead and ride in comfort than you know, suffer. So that's going to be it for today, folks. I'll keep you guys updated on my results for next week. I'll continue to show how I ride the bike, 60 miles a day, 55 miles an hour GPS at 7,000 RPM. The same route that I've always been riding for my commute. And we'll continue to see how long this lasts. Alright, well, until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Alright, peace. Hey everyone, quick side note, we're going to take a little detour here. I was looking at the CSC website and I noticed in the specifications for the RX3, they actually updated, as you can see here, they included a max load for the RX3 now. That wasn't there before. And you guys, again, you may not know, but many months ago now, over gosh, it's been 5 months now or 4.5 months now, I made a video called "Should You Buy a CSC motorcycle?" A CSC motorcycle to save money on gas. And in that video, I include the specifications for the RX3. And as you can see here, same thing. Weight limit is not listed, but I'm glad that they added it now so that folks can actually know what the weight limit of this motorcycle is. And shout out to you, CSC, for actually paying attention and seeing what's going on and making changes. But we all know now what the max load of this bike is. And full disclosure, again, from the beginning, or in my weight reduction experiment video, the very first one that I did, I went over all of the specifications and specifically how much I weigh and all my accessories weigh and that nature. And going off of this actual load capacity now, my daily commute load is 319 pounds. However, I will have to preface this by saying, before we started this whole experiment, I have about almost 20 pounds in extra accessories on my bike. That's the bigger top box, that's the windshield extension, that's the center stand, that's the hand guards, heated hand grips, auxiliary lights, everything. I calculated everything out and I had almost 20 pounds extra weight. So in total, I was over this max load by about 9 pounds with my bike within its current configuration, in its usual configuration. But for this specific test that we just conducted, for the WRE test that we conducted, we reduced in total, we took off about 72 pounds worth of equipment off of the motorcycle. And that included some of my extra parts off the bike as well. So now, knowing what the actual maximum load is, I have reduced, or in theory, I was now at about 319. So I had about, during the actual test, I was about 70 pounds below this maximum load limit. Okay? Maybe, no, let me take that back. I was about 50 pounds below the maximum load limit. So, yeah, for the WRE week 1, we know that being below the maximum load, 50 pounds below the maximum load while doing this test, we still have seen a premature valve clearance wear. My previous valve clearance only lasted 691 miles. That was when the bike was fully dressed, and during the WRE we had to do another valve adjustment that lasted only 300 miles. And the valve clearance wear, or the wear between the clearances, was much more than the previous valve adjustment. So again, did maximum load or did weight play a role in the valve clearance durability at all? Answer is no. And now, knowing what the actual maximum load is, it's nice to know that, I mean, I was still over it by a little bit, but definitely not as much as I thought I was. All right. I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next video. Peace.